Picasso, and I am a psychotherapist and a parent-child relationship specialist. And today I wanted to talk. Hi, Angie. I wanted to talk a little bit about how to find greater joy in parenting. One of those difficult things that we do in life. I know that motherhood is all of those things, rewarding, challenging, frustrating, fun, amazing, and I'm sure you can add to the list of things to describe motherhood. So I wanted to just kind of talk about like 3 very simple things today. And we need those empowering. Our tools for parenting should be empowering and practical, and something that you can try out for yourself and see how it works with your kids, and how it meshes with your personality and your kids' personality and things like that. So my tips for today are sort of general, but at the same time you can kind of tweak it so that you can make it work for you, for your lifestyle, for your personality, your specific needs, and things of that nature. So how to find greater joy in parenting. And this is like when you've had, like a long day at work, for those of you who do work outside of the home, or work from home moms, when you've had a long day, or if you're a stay-at-home mom and you've had a crazy day of lots of things to do, this is for you. So the idea of reconnecting is what I would like to kind of share with you today. Parenting doesn't have to be, or the joy of parenting doesn't have to be circumstantial, which means that like our happiness, whether we're a happy mom or happy wife or a happy woman for that matter, doesn't have to depend on our circumstances, because our circumstances change, right? And we have bad days, we have better days, and we have those in-between days. So the idea of reconnecting is simply that when you've had a long day, when you've had a day that you just didn't expect to turn out that way, make sure that you have room, make sure that you give space for yourself to reconnect with your children, with your family, because it is in connection that we find greater joy in parenting. And sometimes connection gets lost in all of the things that we have to do, because bedtime is important, and so is bath time, meal time is important. And so all of those things, like, we can't just ignore them and put them on the side and say, like, okay, I'll go do this thing with my children. And real life happens, right? Sometimes we have an hour that we can spend with our family. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we only have 5 minutes here and there. And sometimes, our weeks are busy. Sometimes our kids have a lot of activities, or we have, a lot of obligations, whether it has to do with our career or our own support systems or our own community. And so in between all those things, just want to encourage you that make sure that you always reconnect at the end of the day, or maybe even, throughout your week, to make space for that and allow yourself to pull back and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and reconnect. And the idea of reconnecting is also good for those times when we let out a nag or a yell or a scream that kind of, come out of nowhere, so to speak. Like, if you're just having your own stressful day, I mean, that happens, right? Sometimes we have to deal with things that life gives us. So the idea of reconnecting is just really like saying, like, okay, I may have, yelled at you unreasonably this morning, or I may have ignored you a little bit when you were trying to get my attention because I was on the phone earlier, but I'm here now. And I want to make sure that, we have closure for the day, and that we can, that we are willing to start over with each other, that we are willing to come together again so that we can, have discussion or have a conversation, whether it's about what happened earlier in the day, or just, simply making sure that we're okay. And when I say we, I'm talking about our children, or spouse, or anyone else that really lives with you. So 3 things that you can do to make sure, or keep in mind, 3 things that you can keep in mind to make sure that you are reconnecting at the end of the day. The first one is be generous. Be generous with your affection and your affirmations with your kids, and appreciation too. Sometimes we forget to, appreciate the people that are in our lives. So one good way to reconnect at the end of the day is to just be generous with that. I appreciate that you cleaned your room this morning. I know that you care, right? I know that you care, that you're a member of this family. I appreciate that you put away the dishes when you were done with your homework. It shows me blank. So be generous with your affection as well. And affection can come in many different forms. It can be a hug, or, pointing out what they did right that day, giving them love notes in their lunch boxes. I know that we used to do that with our daughter, sending her love notes in her lunchbox, or, just notes during the breakfast, putting things. Yes, Angie saying that her husband's love language is words of affirmation. Mine is too, so I can relate. My love language is words of affirmation. My husband's is service. So he likes to come home to a clean house. That speaks to his heart. So, and I think maybe also, okay. Yes, my daughter's love language is quality time. So we know that when she is a little bit off, that's like her trying to say, I'm here and I need some quality time with you. So yeah, it's good to know, your family's love language, definitely. You can also, maybe you can, this is just like a suggestion, like you probably, I know the moms in the Joy Village, you probably do this already, but, like once in a while, maybe clean your children's room if you don't already do that. That's just a suggestion. Or opposite. Oh, acts of service is yours tied with quality time. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing how love just comes in different forms, and affection comes in different forms. If you all haven't read the book Love Languages, which is what Angie is alluding to. It's a very, very good book. And so, be generous with your affection, your affirmation, your appreciations, all A's. Didn't mean to put all the A's there, but I remember my husband and I had friends over this weekend. It was a couple, and we were just like talking, and then at the end, I asked them, like, what do you appreciate about each other? And we just kind of reminded them, like, be generous with that. And the thing about appreciation is that it kind of like takes the back burner. So to actually bring it to consciousness and to actually be intentional about it is another story. So you have to make sure that you are just being aware that, okay, have I appreciated my spouse today, or my children? Have I said my words of appreciation? I know I had done a post the other day, and I said, have you smiled today? So I mean, those simple things, like, have you smiled at your children today? Be generous with your smile. Many years ago, I read a book about parenting, and the author, I forgot which book I read this from, but she said, smile. The first thing that she wrote, the first chapter was about smiling. And since that day, I have been more conscious about smiling. When I walk in from work, and even though the house is a mess, I have to smile. And smile makes a difference. So when I had posted that the other day, like, a lot of people commented, and they're like, oh man, I haven't smiled today. Oh yeah. So, make sure that you are being generous with your smile as well, because that makes a difference in your children's lives. There was a research that was done, I think 2 years ago, and by a professor in New York, and she found that she interviewed 1,000 participants between the ages of 8 to 12, and they said that they wished that their parents would be less stressed and overwhelmed. So, your children, our children, are waiting for that. They want to see it. It is. Sometimes they just don't know how to express it themselves, and they might need you to step in and kind of like, pull it out of them gently. So just as a reminder. So that's the first thing. The way to reconnect at the end of the day, whether you had a long, tiring work day, or you just feel like, you were kind of off with them a little bit, is to be generous with your appreciation and affection. And the second thing is to be purposeful, or be intentional about reconnecting. What that means for me is that, and you can use different tools, right? But you can schedule it. You can put a timer, put it in your calendar. If you are a task-oriented mom, maybe even if you're a socially oriented mom, there might also be challenges as far as like spending quality time with your children. But if you are a task-oriented mom where you're like, okay, this, I need to check this off, and I need to see that I'm actually accomplishing, and not just like the feeling of accomplishment, but actually seeing it, there is nothing wrong with scheduling and blocking a time for yourself to reconnect with your children, and to say, like, from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., it's my time for my children, and I'm not going to answer the phones. I'm not going to open my email. And guaranteed you will feel better, right? Because when you set aside that time that is just for them, they're not the only ones that are benefiting from the connection. You are too. We are too. We are also, getting a lot out of it. It's not really just for them. The other day, I was, I was tired. The other day, I was tired, and I had just, I had a very busy couple of days, and so I made it very intentional for myself to connect with my family, and that was good. That was really good for me, and that just really reminded me that I need human connection. I can't just be off over here, working and cooking and cleaning and all of those things. I always remember the story of when my friend had lived with us for a while, and every time she came over, well, she would stay with us for like once a week. I mean, once a week only. Every time she would come over, I would be in the kitchen, like cooking a lot. And, this is going to sound crazy to you all if you haven't. I don't know why I did this, but I cooked lunch. And so the night before, I would cook lunch and dinner. And it took me a long time because I'm not really like an efficient cook. I learned how to cook when I got married, after I got married. So, I mean, all those big meals and things like that. So, she would always comment. She's like, "Man, you must really love cooking because you're always in the kitchen." And that got me thinking a lot. And so from that day on, I was like, wait a minute, it's true. Like, what am I spending most of my time on? And granted, the way I was doing it was really, like I would be there until like midnight because I would come home from work and then do all the things, the mealtime, bedtime, bath time, and all of that stuff, and then get ready for the next day. So, make sure that you evaluate how you are spending your time and be purposeful about reconnecting at the end of the day, especially, when you have like that bedtime routine, and then you can ask your children, how was your day at school? Who did you sit with at lunch? And what did your teacher say about your homework? Those sort of things. When bedtime is calm, then you're able to talk with them more. So easy to get carried away. Yes, that isn't something. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And so the good news is I don't spend that long of a time in the kitchen anymore. And I really do make sure that I reconnect with the kids because I love it. After you realize that, oh man, like this feels good, and imagine how your children feel when they reconnect with you. And the third thing that I want to share about reconnecting is that be curious. So I feel that curiosity removes all judgment, because I think once we become parents, there's this, there's just this thing that like we feel that we either have all the answers or that we need to fix and solve everything that our children go through. So, and although we may know more based on experience and knowledge, right? But there is this innate desire in our children to be heard. So curiosity, when you approach your children with curiosity, it just basically means that instead of imposing on them, and instead of, offering them the answers and say, like, here you go, this is what you're going through, I've been there, here, take my advice, type of thing. Curiosity opens the door for conversations. So you ask instead of, giving your opinion. Of course, if they ask for your opinion, I mean, uh, then definitely share it. But when they are, when they are feeling like, when they're like in the middle of pouring their heart out to you, just nod and be like, okay, really? So that happened? So what did your friends say? And then, or like, so what would you say? What would you do in that situation? And just keep like asking away, because you will get a chance to say your piece, and you will get a chance to give your advice. But it's powerful when our kids feel like they can, say whatever is in their heart or in their thoughts and not be judged, and feel like, they can trust their mom and dad for anything that they're going through. And that is how we create that trust, with them, is when we ask questions, when we make them feel like we're genuinely interested in what they are saying, in what they're feeling, and that we're okay with those things, and that, we're not going to judge them for being just, who they are, and from being whatever they are feeling and whatever they're carrying in their hearts. Because, they're in school, like if you have school age children, they're in school from anywhere from like 6 to 8 hours a day, or maybe more if they are doing extracurricular activities. So, and a lot can happen. We all know that, right? Like a lot can happen in those hours. And so, having that open-mindedness to just let them talk, and having that active listening skills turned on at the end of the day is also a way of reconnecting with them, and making them feel like they are a part of the family, and that their opinions and their thoughts also matter. So be generous, be purposeful, be curious, and that, and we can there's a lot more to reconnecting, but this is three ways that you can reconnect at the end of the day, so that you can find greater joy in parenting, because parenting doesn't always have to be difficult and exhausting. Yes, generous, purposeful, and curious. So that is all I have for today. Angie, thank you again so much for opening your community for me to come on live today. And I've been reading, the posts and everything. This is a wonderful community, and I'll be around. I'll be hanging around. So if you all have questions, again, Angie, thank you for joining me live. If you all have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So I hope you all have a great Tuesday, and Yes, I will drop my link. Thank you so much. And yes, so if you have any questions, as Angie said, you could just post it on here and let me know if there is anything that I can clarify for you all. Thank you. Have a great Tuesday. Bye, Angie. Bye, everyone. Take care.